students, how are you? I am Francis sir, and today I am here with Standard 7 Physics. This is the third part of the lecture, and the chapter is your lesson 7, and the portion that we are going to discuss today is adaptation in animals to different climates. Yes, as we know that at different climatic conditions, all the animals don't survive and can't live at all the types of places. So, for instance, we have the polar bear. It is found only in polar region, whereas we don't find other animals. Most of the animals can't stay there. Why? Because they are not adapted towards such type of conditions. So, when we talk about adaptation, we need to understand what is adaptation. We need to understand what is adaptation. So, what is adaptation? Adaptation is the tendency of an organism to develop certain features. What? Tendency of an organism to develop certain features which improve the chances of its survival in a certain environment that it lives. So, sometimes the environment can be very harsh. So, in very harsh conditions, one cannot survive under normal type of features. We need to develop certain type of features, which can cope up, which can make us cope up with those type of environment. For example, this polar bear, as I talked to you about it before also. What happens? The temperature of the polar region is less than 0 degrees centigrade, 365 days. And the whole of year, for millions of years, it has been for such only. So can you imagine how a living organism can live there at a temperature less than 0 degree temperature? Not only less than 0 degree, actually it is less than -10. What do you say? So cold. So how can polar bear adapt there? So what happened? It has developed certain features. If you have seen the picture of a polar bear, it has a very thick, fluffy hair. Which traps air, and it acts just like the sweater we wear, woolen wool that we wear, it acts like a woolen wool. And not only that, it has a very thick layer of fat, which gives it an insulation, The outer coat does not penetrate into its body. Okay, so these are some of the adaptations, which polar bear has done in its body so that it could adapt in such type of condition. Survive in such type of condition, though the condition is so harsh. Okay. So when we talk of adaptations, we need to go through the type of adaptations. The adaptations are of two types, 1 and 2. The first one is your temporary adaptation, and the second one is your permanent adaptation. So what do we understand by temporary adaptations? These temporary adaptations are adaptations which can help us to withstand certain instant adaptations. Instant changes can be occurred, and these last only for very short time. These adaptations last for very short time. For instance, let me talk to you about this chameleon or chameleon, whatever you say. It has the habit of changing its color according to its surroundings, so that it is prevented from prey or the insects that it eats. They can't recognize it. So it is called camouflaging. So one of the way of temporary adaptation is camouflage, and another is your migration. There are some migratory animals and there are some migratory birds, who move from one place to another just in order to survive the worst climatic conditions of that place. For example, it is very familiar in India. We are very familiar with Siberian birds. These Siberian birds, when the winter comes, they move from the Siberia towards the south, towards India and Indian subcontinent area. Why? Because during winter the temperature there is so hard that it is very difficult to survive there. And it is also their breeding season. What happens? They come to these southern places, they come and breed there, lay their eggs, develop their, they hatch, and they with their children they move back to the same place, So this is occasional, this happens. They don't come here permanently, or they don't stay there permanently. So in order to survive the harsh condition, they move from that place to this place, move from one place to another, just in order to increase their survival conditions. Okay. So this is called your adaptation. Adaptation, what type of adaptation? Temporary adaptation. There are many other examples also, but these are two are major. Similarly, we have permanent adaptations. Permanent adaptation is what is called hibernation. One estimation is also there, but I don't know the hibernation here. And one is your permanent body changes that occur in a body, in some living organism. So let us talk about hibernation. When we talked about this polar bear, when there is a very cold, in winter season, especially when the winter is at its peaks for 2-3 months, what happens? This polar bear, goes for a long winter sleep. Because it is very difficult to remain outside on the surface. So what it does, it makes a cave in the ice and goes inside and sleeps there. And it sleeps for a long time in order to survive the harsh weather conditions. So this is also a type of adaptation. This hibernation can be seen in snakes and as well as in frogs also. They also hibernate when it is very, very hot outside or very, very cold outside. What they do, they go inside the earth in their cave, in their holes, and what they do, they sleep there for a long time. And the favorable condition comes, for example, when it rains, suddenly all of a sudden you can hear the sound of these frogs, they start they start making their noise, So what is that? So it is a way of their presence. They show that I am back. But where were they before the rainy season or before it rained? Actually, they had been sleeping underground. So what is this sleeping underground called? This is called your hibernation. Understood? Okay. So now, the other one is your permanent body changes. Yes, there are some animals who do change their body permanently in such a way that they could survive in a particular type of condition. A very good example is, we have a bird. We have a bird, you understand bird, and its name is penguin, but it does not fly, it swims. What type of bird it is? It is a very unique type of bird it is, and quite amusing also, and very interesting to know that it is a bird and it does not fly, but what does it do? It swims. So if a bird has to swim, it should not have wings. Yes, though it is a bird, it has wings, but it acts like flipper. It acts like flipper. And it is also, that might be a question, you might be thinking that why it does not fly. Actually, this penguin lives in areas, which area? The Antarctica area. There is no means no trees and plants and nothing of such where it could stay, or there is nothing above the ground from which it could get food. So in order to get food from the sea, it thought that it is better to swim in the sea rather than fly over the sea. So it started swimming in the sea, and permanently its wings are changed into flippers. Even its legs have got webbed feet. Its legs has webbed feet. So you can understand this is a permanent body change. This is a permanent body change. For example, we have our fish. We have fish. It lives in water. Its body is adapted to breathe underwater. It has an organ which helps it to breathe underwater. And what is that organ called? That is the organ is called gills. So this formation of gills, or the making of these gills, or the presence of these gills, it is can be termed to as a permanent adaptation, because if you take out a fish outside, it can die, because it is not adapted to breathe outside the water but inside the water. And what about us? If we are put underwater, we can't stay there for long. Why? Because we are not adapted to breathe under water. So these are the things, this is called permanent body changes, so that we can live in a particular type of environment. Understood? There are many examples of such, which can give us permanent adaptations. So we will see some examples. Examples for permanent adaptation. First one is your polar bear. Polar bear. What are the adaptations? Okay. Number one, thick fur. It has thick fur. Okay. Number two, it has thick layer of fat under skin. It has large paws. So that it will easily walk over the snow. Okay. Number four, it has strong sense of smell, so that it could find its prey easily, because it is in this vast polar area. Animals live very far away. So how could it move towards its prey if it can't identify? So it has a strong sense of smell, so that it will easily identify where its prey is. So these are some of the adaptations of polar bear, which helps it to survive in polar area. Now I talk to you about penguin. Penguin. What are its adaptations? First one is its body is streamlined. Streamlined means a type of shape. This one, a shape like a fish. Yes, narrow at the ends and broad at the middle. This shape is called your streamlined. So it allows it to swim properly. Okay. Second one, it has wings are changed to flippers. Okay. Number three, it has webbed feet. W-E-B-B-E-D, webbed feet. Okay, it has webbed feet. Number four, it lives in colonies. Colonies, and they are cuddled to each other. Cuddled means they live very close to each other, so that their body heat warms each other. The body heat of one is used by the other to get warmed, so they are cuddled to each other. Okay, so this is some of the adaptations of penguin. Then we have birds. Okay, there's birds. There are some adaptations of birds. They have what? They have light bones. Okay. Number two, they have wings. Yes, they have wings. Then their body is streamlined. Body. The body is streamlined. Okay. Then what else? It has a strong breast. Breast means the chest area. Strong breast muscles. What for? Because because they have to keep on flapping their wings, and in flapping, this area, yes, this shoulder area and this chest area, their muscles are used, so they have a very strong breast muscles. Okay, so these are some of the characteristics of the birds which allow us to fly easily. Okay, then we have elephant. Okay, elephant also has some of the elephant has also some of the adaptations. Yes, some of the adaptations of elephant is that what it has a huge body, so that it is a technique. So if we increase the body size, what happens? Per unit food required becomes less. Per unit food becomes required becomes less. So if a person is small, it can eat more. But if a body is big, then what happens is that per unit food requirement of the body becomes less. So it is a way of adaptation. It is a way of adaptation of elephant to increase its survival rate. Second is that it has a huge trunk. Yes, since it has a huge body, its body gets heated up fast. So what happens is that it can take suck water from its trunk and take a bath. When there is less water, so it sprinkles water from its nose, that trunk portion, and it keeps its body cool in hot conditions. Also, it has very huge ears. It is also helpful in. It acts like a fan actually. It acts like a fan. Yes, sometimes when you feel hot, you do it with your hands, but since they don't have hands, they have only legs, so how can they fan themselves, So what they do, they use their ears in order to reduce their body temperature. Okay, and other thing is that they got they are very bulky, So in order to walk easily, they have got wide pillar-like legs. They have wide pillar-like legs, so they could walk easily on the ground. Okay, so these are some of the adaptations which are present in some of the animals. There are many other animals who have got other adaptations. Okay, who have other adaptations. So I wish that you go and read through the book. Okay, about all those adaptations that are given. And with this, we end the chapter. Please go through the question and answers, steps to remember, and everything. If you got any problem, we will discuss it in the next part. Okay, see you in the next video. Good day.